Good morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Taylor Stephenson here with you on the Weather Desk. This here at 13 News Now is our daily show Monday through Friday, where we talk about the top weather headlines from here in Hampton Roads, Virginia, which is southeastern Virginia, northeastern North Carolina, all across the country, and sometimes we go all across the world for the biggest weather headlines. Again, I'm meteorologist Taylor Stephenson, a certified broadcast meteorologist based in Norfolk or Virginia Beach here in Virginia. So we're going to talk about what we're talking about today on the Weather Desk for your February 10th show. We have icy conditions from the West Coast to the East Coast. I'm talking places anywhere from all the way into the Pacific Northwest. We've seen some icy conditions, and then all the way into portions of Canada down here to the Mid-Atlantic. All those stories on the Weather Desk today. Plus, talking about the West Coast, we'll take it even further out into Hawaii, where we had severe weather just recently. We'll talk more about how that impacted those islands. Plus, happy belated birthday to the National Weather Service. We'll talk more about the Weather Service's birthday, how the Weather Service came to be, and the forecast for Hampton Roads. I'll even talk about how the Weather Service and broadcast meteorologists interact and how their information that they hand down to us and the general public is super important for our forecasting as broadcast meteorologists. So let's go ahead and talk about the icy conditions. Today in parts of the United States, including Hampton Roads, we are finally thawing out after dealing with winter weather for days and days. And winter weather isn't just snow and ice, it's also just bitterly cold temperatures. And thankfully, we're seeing a huge rise later on this afternoon. Those freezing temperatures, though, have caused bodies of water to almost completely freeze over in the frozen Lake Erie side in Canada. It looks like a snowy ice desert, but already that ice is cracking. Take a look at what the strong winds did that caused a massive crack to form. We showed you these animated satellite images from NOAA yesterday. That crack is estimated to be 1 to 2 miles wide in its largest cracked spot. The ice sheet is now drifting toward the west shore of the lake. So very icy, very cold there on the Lake Erie side in Canada. And you can see even this morning with some snow coming down through Lake Ontario and lots of snow there for portions just north of Toronto and east of Buffalo, New York. So places like Rochester may get a little bit of snow today, and even some snow coming through the rest of the Great Lakes into Michigan as well. So snowy there, but we're going to go ahead and take it to the northeast, and this is going to be for Jersey, where they're also seeing a few snow flurries this morning, even into Philadelphia. Now, ice boaters in New Jersey are taking advantage of this cold snap. Check it out. This freezing, frigid temperatures have caused a river to freeze over, allowing for ice boaters to race on it. Ice boating is a high-speed winter sport involving sailing special boats on metal runners across frozen lakes. While ice boating was once a regular winter occurrence in certain parts of the country, ice boat clubs have struggled to hold races in recent years due to warmer winters, and of course that being due to climate change. Now, speaking of the ice boating, all of that kind of reminds me of the Winter Olympics, and it kind of reminds me, I'm grateful today that at least here in the Mid-Atlantic, we're going to see some warmer temperatures, because cold enough to race ice boats is too cold for me. But you head even further north, we're going to go to Vermont and Lake Champlain, where they have also come close to freezing over at that lake for the first time in years. Abigail Sachs shows us more from Burlington.
The lake hasn't frozen like this, I feel like, for a really long time.
Ashley Horton has lived in Burlington for over 25 years. Sunday, she explored the ice sheet with her dog, Finch.
I'm watching him dive in snow. I mean, he's not loving the ice because it's so slippery, so I kind of have to coax him out, but then he'll come back to shore.
Finch, a Norwegian elk hound, thrives in the cold. Horton says he's made her appreciate getting outside in the winter more.
It's so beautiful, the mountains, and it's it kind of feels like you're in a different world. You're on another planet.
She's not the only one. Bill Morris grew up in Vermont and says he's seen the lake close less and less over the years.
As a kid growing up in Vermont, there really was winter after winter of knowing that the lake froze over, and just it's gone much more infrequent since then.
The National Weather Service says that they actually like when it snows so that they can see where it's actually frozen and what parts are still open water, which right now is just a small little circle. So they're predicting that within the next few days, it should be completely closed.
Some of that thin ice that's over the broad waters is a little bit more transparent. And so when you're looking straight down at it from a satellite, it's hard to tell whether or not it's ice or if it's open water.
Tyler Danzig is a meteorologist for the National Weather Service and says they're predicting Monday or Tuesday will be the day that the ice completely closes. The last time this happened was 2019.
So it's been quite a while since we've had a full lake freeze.
They make this distinction through satellite and drone imagery, as well as reports from the Coast Guard. If you do decide to venture out, Danzig recommends wearing a life jacket, carrying ice picks, and testing the thickness as you go out.
We don't want people walking across the lake from Vermont to New York, especially across the broad waters. You don't know how thick that ice is going to be.
Closer to the shore is where the ice tends to be safer, which is where Morris and Horton stay.
This is just a way of busting out of the cabin fever and getting out and appreciating winter for what it is.
And with that, having Tyler, the meteorologist there, Tyler Danzig, from the Weather Service, talking to local reporters, that is why we're going to highlight how much the Weather Service has done for us here, for just the news industry, for broadcast meteorologists in general, as we celebrate the Weather Service's birthday later on in this show. But on that icy note, we do have to mention home here in Virginia, where it typically doesn't get cold enough for those bodies of water, even smaller ones, to freeze over. That is why we tell you multiple times why it's best that you do not walk on those small bodies of water. It doesn't get cold enough for that ice to be thick enough to hold body weight. So if you think what you see is a frozen lake or pond, please stay off of it. There have already been at least 2 water rescues in our region this winter. Last month, unfortunately, a toddler died after falling into an icy lake in Henrico, that's just outside of Richmond. Emergency responders found the little boy unconscious. He was then given CPR at the scene and was rushed to a hospital where he later died. A man was also treated at the scene for possible hypothermia. In Norfolk, a boy fell through a frozen retention pond last week. Witnesses say they saw a group of kids playing by the pond when one boy started to walk on it, and then he fell through the ice. The father of that child went into the water and got the boy out. The child was taken to the Children's Hospital, the King's Daughters, to be checked out. Again, it's not safe to play on those icy conditions in icy ponds and bodies of water in places like Hampton Roads, where, of course, we did see below freezing temperatures, and we actually had the longest streak of below normal or below freezing temperatures at or below 32 degrees for 132 consecutive hours. But because our afternoon high temperatures a lot of times fluctuate above the freezing line, it's easy for things to freeze, unfreeze, and then refreeze. Now, while some places are enjoying the ice, others are doing what they can to break it up. A massive icebreaker from the Maryland Department of Natural Resources came to the rescue to free dozens of boats that were stuck at the Rock Hall Harbor. Brad Bell reports.
The icebreaker is the Maryland Department of Natural Resources AV Sandusky, and it appeared in the bay off of Rock Hall just before noon Monday and then hit a wall of ice.
Help is on the way.
We watched the 80-foot, 120-ton boat ram and ram again and again the ice sheet for hours, battling its way towards the harbor, finally springing free. The Sandusky's captain, Mike Simonson, says it's as tough as he's ever seen.
There's a lot of plates that are, 8 to 12 inches thick. My boat is its capacity is really 8 inches of cutting, and that's making way. In the last 25 years, this is the thickest that I've seen it, but we've had the perfect storm. Mother Nature chose to change her dress this time, and it was a cold one.
As a group of watermen watched, the big boat crunched its way through the harbor, opening a channel. The watermen say they hope to get back to work tomorrow, but they really hope it warms up.
Now, speaking of snow and ice, one place where you may not believe it that had snow is all the way in the southernmost state in our country. And you might think that's Florida. It's actually Hawaii. So we're taking it to the Pacific, where a strong storm system brought gusty winds, heavy rain, and yes, even some snow to higher elevations on the island. This is a look at the conditions in Honolulu, where all schools and public buildings were shut down yesterday. Wind gusts reached up to 73 miles per hour, knocking out power to more than 12,000 people at one point. Higher elevations above 12,000 feet also got several inches of rain and snow over the weekend. Now, wind gusts of 74 miles per hour puts that at a very high tropical storm strength or even low-end hurricane strength if this was to be a hurricane situation, which it is not. Hurricane season does not start until June 1st. Now, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we are going to be celebrating a birthday. The National Weather Service's birthday was yesterday. Meteorologist Evan Stewart will be in to talk about that. Plus, coming up after that, Hampton Roads is finally thawing out today. I'll talk about just how high temperatures will climb and how long this warm-up will last. Welcome back, everybody. We've already been through the first two topics, the icy conditions from the west coast to the east coast, including snow and severe weather and severe wind gusts in Hawaii. But now we're on to a celebration. As America celebrates its 250th birthday, specifically the U.S., this year, we are looking at how the weather has shaped our history. And we just celebrated a big birthday, the National Weather Service's. Meteorologist Evan Stewart shares what happened this week more than 150 years ago that pushed the U.S. towards modern forecasting.
We all rely on weather information today, radar, satellites, and warnings on our phones. Now, of course, America didn't always have that. But back on February 9th in 1870, the U.S. took a major step forward towards modern forecasting. President Ulysses S. Grant signed a resolution creating the nation's first official National Weather Service. Interestingly, it wasn't under a science agency. It was placed under the U.S. Army Signal Service because the government wanted a system that was organized, consistent, and fast. And their mission was simple but life-saving. Collect weather observations nationwide, send them by the all-important telegraph, and then issue storm warnings. The first warnings were mainly for the Great Lakes and the coast to protect ships, commerce, and lives. And even though the name and technology have evolved over the decades, from the division of telegrams and reports for the benefit of commerce to the Weather Bureau to today's National Weather Service, the mission is still the same: track dangerous weather and warn people in time. So that weather alert that you get on your phone today can be traced back to that life-saving system started February 9th, 1870.
And throughout the United States, there are multiple Weather Service offices, and I get a lot of questions, or even people who are saying, you know, we trust the Weather Service more than we trust local meteorologists. I don't think that a lot of people know that here from broadcast meteorologists, not only here at 13 News Now, but across the country, a lot of our data comes from our local Weather Service offices. And this radar beam we use a lot, that comes from the radar dome out in Wakefield for our specific area. Now, Wakefield's Weather Service office covers Hampton Roads, northeastern North Carolina, and also the Richmond metro area. And so this radar dome is some of the most crucial information we can have when it comes to picking up on any type of wet weather, severe weather, and the data that the Weather Service gets, they often give it to us so that we can give it to you all. I kind of consider broadcast meteorologists to be the middleman or the translator between the people at the Weather Service and you at home, because we take all the big weather terms they send to us in Wakefield, put it in layman's terms to give to you that's easily digestible. Because if I had you all read one of the forecast discussions that was sent to us, you may be looking at me with big eyes like, what are you even talking about? So that's why the Weather Service is so important. They give us the data. Meteorologists on the TV are important because we help to disseminate that information and give it to you in a digestible way. Now let's talk about digestible information about our forecast for today. I'm tracking a few things. It's a weather roller coaster for us here across Hampton Roads in northeastern North Carolina. We have a very welcome warm up today. Temperatures will be climbing finally back near normal for the first time since late January. Now, how long does that last? That's what I'll talk to you about in just a moment. We're back below normal later on this week, where temperatures will fall into the lower 40s. After that, we get back to the 50s, but instead of having sunshine and 50s today, we'll have 50s and rain during the weekend. Now, this weekend is a big one for those who like to go outside, celebrate their loved ones. It's Valentine's Day weekend. I'll give you a look at what the models are saying in terms of rain chances during your Valentine's Day and the day after. Satellite and radar for us is showing the cloud cover that was in the area this morning starting to push away, and we did have an isolated flurry around the eastern shore earlier this morning, but that just brought a few snowflakes and then pushed out quickly. Now, look at this blue H here. This is high pressure. Yesterday, this high pressure center was over portions of I-95 and I-85. It was a cold centered high pressure. Now that it's sliding offshore, that brings the winds from north yesterday to south today. South winds transport warmer, more moist air into an area. Take that in combination with this front that will slowly start to drift to the north as a warm front. This warm front plus the high pressure offshore is going to give us that big boost in temperatures later on today. But this temperature warm up is brief, as I am tracking temperatures to fall during the late week. But this morning, it's noticeable. I stepped out the door. I had pretty much the same attire on I've had on for the past few days, where temperatures were feeling more like single digits. And this morning, I was like, whoa, it actually feels kind of nice outside, even though temperatures are still below freezing. It wasn't brutally cold. And from this time yesterday, temperatures are already 10 to 20 degrees warmer than your Monday morning around 9:20. So it's a nice start to the day. And you can see that here. Look at the people out there at Norfolk Botanical Garden starting to walk around the garden. I will be them later on today. I'm trying to figure out, do I want to go for a walk, or do I want to go for a walk and maybe sit down and read a book, then walk again? We'll see. But it all really depends on how long these middle 50s will last throughout the day. I will say that this is probably going to be one of the warmest days we'll see, at least for the course of this work week. From the Thompson Creek Window Company Sky View, looking into the Norfolk Botanical Garden, beautiful blue sky and honestly uninterrupted sunshine at this point. Temperatures right now rising to the upper 30s and lower 40s. 38 degrees now in Norfolk, 37 in Virginia Beach, 39 in Hampton, 38 in Newport News, 40 in Suffolk, 38 in Elizabeth City, and 40 in Manio. We did have a slight breeze this morning that made temperatures feel more like the 20s, but but now as we're getting closer to 9:30, temperatures are feeling more like freezing. So you still, if you haven't headed out the door yet, you still do need a coat, but good news is this afternoon you can shed that coat as temperatures significantly rise. And you can see high pressure, you can see how it's kind of turning. Remember the winds, or maybe you don't know, this is a good learning lesson. Winds around high pressure, they move clockwise. Winds around low pressure spin counterclockwise. So you can tell that high pressure is offshore because it's going from 9 a.m. to the top of the noon and then going down at 3 o'clock. So the high pressure is right around here just off screen, but we're seeing that push of those southwest winds here. You can see that from our compass at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. That southwest push is bringing in that warmer air. So temperatures by noon will rise significantly to the upper 40s and lower 50s. So between now and noon, we're going to rise 10 to 15 degrees. So each and every hour, we're gaining about 5 degrees in terms of temperature. So a nice warm up, but we continue to warm up even more. By the afternoon, right around 3 o'clock, temperatures will be in the lower to middle 50s for portions of the eastern south side. You head inland for inland North Carolina, inland Virginia, temperatures will be in the upper 50s near 60. For the Outer Banks and the eastern shore, because we have cold waters right next door and we have an onshore flow here, that's actually going to push in some of that colder air just above those bodies of water onto the land. So temperatures this afternoon may only make it to the lower to upper 40s. You head through places like Tappahannock and West Point and Newport News, we may only be in the lower 50s. But starting today, February the 10th, our normal high temperature for this time of year is 53 degrees. So we'll be right near normal for this time of year, which will probably feel more like a heat wave for those around who live in southeastern Virginia, northeastern North Carolina, just because temperatures have only been in the 20s, 30s, and 40s since January 23rd. It's been a really cold stretch for us. Later on tonight, the winds will pick up. We can see wind gusts as high as about 20 to 25 miles per hour from the southwest as our cold front starts to approach the area. Temperatures overnight, though, because of these breezy south winds, will stay mild. We're going to see temperatures overnight in the upper 40s and lower 50s. More people out there walking in the Norfolk Botanical Garden. I need an invite. I would love to go be walking right now and enjoying these warmer temperatures. Tomorrow, we'll have warm temperatures during the morning, and then we'll see them slowly fall off throughout the afternoon. This cold front, though, we may be able to squeeze out a few scattered showers between about 5 a.m. and 10 a.m. We'll see cloudy skies through about noon before we see sunshine later on during the afternoon. The cold front comes through, and so the morning temperatures will be the warmest with a slow cool down through the afternoon. But even by 4 p.m., temperatures still in the upper 40s near 50, and then later on into the night you can see the temperatures tumbling back to the 30s. That will set the precedent for a cold end to the week where temperatures on Thursday and Friday will only be in the lower 40s, though sunshine does return. After the cold but sunny end to the week, we get right back into the 50s for Valentine's Day weekend. But I'm watching for the potential of some widespread rain. This takes us through Saturday evening, right around 7 o'clock for those who may be going to Valentine's Day dinner. And it's going to be overcast. So not raining, but not bright and clear outside. We see rain moving through early Sunday morning, but the heaviest parts of this rain system will come through during the afternoon and evening. And you can see that right about here around 8 o'clock on Sunday, heavier downpours, maybe even some mixed in possible for the weekend. Right now, not expecting any severe weather with this system. Temperatures will remain in the 50s during the afternoons on both Saturday and Sunday, so Valentine's Day and the day after. So what I can say is that this system will likely bring us rain and not really a wintry mix or any type of snow because temperatures will be well above normal for this time of year. Overall, though, a rainy end to what will be a pretty okay weekend in terms of temperatures. But then on Monday, we're going to start to see those rain chances starting to move out. So here's your weekend preview. For Valentine's Day, increasing cloud cover. We're going to start off fairly sunny, but throughout the day, getting cloudier and cloudier. cloudier. Temperatures in the morning will be cold, upper 20s, but by the afternoon we should be right near or just slightly below normal with highs in the lower 50s. But most of the day we're staying dry with rain very late, especially if you live south and west. So places around Ahoskie and the Albemarle Sound. Then on Sunday we'll have windier conditions. Temperatures start off a little bit warmer for the morning in the mid 30s. By the afternoon we're going to make it to the lower 50s. Windy and rainy on Sunday, and the rain will likely linger into early Monday morning. But long-range models suggest that we should stay in the 50s for the majority of next week. So after a bit of a cool down for portions of this work week, so Thursday and Friday, I think even this is kind of underdoing the temperatures for the weekend. We'll get right back into the 50s next week, even with some of those days challenging the upper 50s near the lower 60s. So we should be getting right back to where we should be for this time of year after what was a very cold start to our February. Temperatures every single day from February 1st through February 9th, which is yesterday, have been below normal. Today, we finally may break that curse and be back in the 50s. Cool down through the end of the work week before warm up early next week. So overall, not a bad next 5 days, but definitely ups and downs in the forecast. For today and tomorrow, mid 50s, and then falling as we head into Wednesday. By Thursday and Friday, the cool air from our Wednesday cold front seeps in and settles in with highs in the low 40s. For the weekend, again, lower 50s with rain mainly on Sunday, morning showers lingering on Monday. But as you saw, it looks likely that our temperatures should remain near or above normal through next week. You remember, you can always get the latest news, weather, and traffic on the go with the 13 News Now Plus app and on the 13 News Now app on your phone. You can scan the QR code on your screen to download the app to your mobile device today. It's free on the App Store and on Google Play. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Weather Desk. Again, I'm certified broadcast meteorologist Taylor Stephenson, based in Norfolk, Virginia, which is southeastern Virginia and northeastern North Carolina. The Weather Desk happens Monday through Friday, 9 a.m., where we talk about the biggest weather headlines, not only in the United States, but around the world as well. Depends on what we're seeing each and every day. The story changes every day. Meteorologist Craig Moore will be back here on the Weather Desk tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., so join him here. Enjoy this really nice, more mild day before the cold air comes in. Again, it's the best day to head out for a walk, maybe read a book outside, just soak in that vitamin D, because the warmer weather won't return until the weekend. I'll see you later. Have a great day.